That's not mine. No, that's mine.
Well, this is a beautiful part of the world. This is the middle of everywhere Gippsland Rally. It's the fourth round of the EROAD Australian Rally Championship, and we are set to go, and we are excited as well because for the first time in almost a decade, this part of the world is playing host to night stages back on the Australian Rally Championship, and we couldn't be more excited. This is Thompson. We've got 14.34 kilometres of rallying ahead of us, and this could very well be a title-deciding weekend of rallying. Chris Stubbs with you. Great to be back as part of our coverage. Alongside me is Dean Herridge. Dean, this place and these forests are about to be lit up, literally.
They are indeed. If you look behind us now, car on their way, Harry Bates, the last year's champion, in behind us, into the hairpin, lights ablaze for the first time in the Australian Championship in nearly a decade as he runs up the hill, and he is under a little bit of pressure at the moment.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Because so far today it's been all about Hayden Paddon. So Hayden Paddon, the seven-time Kiwi champ, is our championship leader at the moment. Harry, it was a tough one for him last start in Queensland.
Yeah, well, exactly. Made an error after a great heat one, but obviously he would rue that mistake. And, of course, through here, he's been struggling a little bit today.
So this is our leaderboard, just to set the scene after today's daytime stages. Hayden Paddon, championship leader, 39.5 second advantage over Harry. Lewis Bates, 58.4 seconds further back. And then Alex Rullo and Stewie Reid rounding out our top five. So that's how it's played out so far today. It's not just about the conditions. The drivers have had plenty to say. We'll hear from them in a moment.
Well, and that's the thing. I think we think and look at it that it's so solid, the conditions, and yet it's very tricky for them to be able to do what they're doing out there, you know, reading the road and that sort of stuff. So, you know, you have a look at what we've got in regards to the calendar. You've come off some different rounds there. You know, Queensland, as we spoke about before, very different to Victoria. Throw in the nighttime stages. A lot of them are struggling to read the grip here. It looks really good and hard packed, but in the service park, they were particularly talking about, I'm struggling for a bit of confidence in the car.
For almost 220 kilometres of competitive rallying, 125 of that today. It's a jam-packed day, and we have seen this stage, Thompson, already, and earlier today it was Hayden Paddon who got the job done. So this is how it looks, and this is a different order to what we've seen for Thompson previously.
Exactly right. Normally it's been nearly the opening stage of the rally. They did it at stage 2, repeating now after service. They've come directly out of service. They're doing this 14-kilometre stage through here. And like I said, Hayden, go to Brookside Hills. What's impressive with that? Shows his past and he's European champion.
Impressive all year. Let's hear though from Harry. He's underway.
Harry, we're back at the Rally Central now and heading into stage 7. How does it feel out there? How are we kind of prepping for the night session coming up?
Yeah, it was tricky conditions, to be honest. Struggled to get into a rhythm, so not the easiest afternoon of work and not my best afternoon of work, but going into the night stages now, that's an added challenge, and it'll be interesting to see how the stages have evolved since we went over them the first time. But, yeah, not not a thrilling afternoon just in terms of being off the pace, but yeah, it is what it is, and we're just going to have to keep fighting.
Does it adjust your pace notes moving into a nighttime session, and obviously the trust relationship with your co-pilot as well? Are there challenges that'll come with that?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, we did look on recce at how we could make the pace notes as well suited to the night stages as we could, knowing that we have them. Yeah, I haven't done night rallying in a long time, so I'm not really sure how it's going to go, to be honest. But yeah, we'll find out in about an hour's time, I guess.
Oh.
And great to have his brother Lewis now underway for Thompson. Talk us through it, Dino.
Oh, he hooked up there, right time. There's a big gutter on the inside. He set it up beautifully and attacked through there. You know, our angle's not as good. And this is the part of actually spectating at night time. It changes the dynamic. We've got lights blaring in our eyes, hard to see. It's probably not far enough into the stage to see glowing brake discs and the like, but still spectacular to see them. And, you know, we talked before a little bit about, look at the dust coming off there. It's a little bit breezy. I don't suspect dust will be an issue, but they talked a lot about it later.
G-Team, our Bosch Motorsport ballot, so important this time around, was it, in terms of dusting?
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, for the first time in the Australian Championship, they wanted to go and go car one for potentially tonight. Will that play a part? Harry needs it to. But, of course, like you said, after the struggles of this morning.
Let's hear from Lewis.
Lewis Bates, you've just come back. How is it out there? What are the conditions like?
They're slippery and very challenging. A lot more slippery than what I was expecting. They've obviously had a bit of rain on the stages, and yeah, plenty of surprises out there, and it's just really hard to find a rhythm. It's really grippy one corner and then really slippery the next corner, and you can't really pick which one's going to be which. So yeah, probably didn't do the best job out there, but we're here safely, and hopefully we can tune the car up and find a bit more speed for tonight.
Does that change how you set the car up in preparation for the next stages?
Yeah, it does. I think if I'd known it was going to be that slippery, then we probably would have changed the car setup a little bit for the first stages, but we can do it for tonight, and hopefully it yeah, lets us have a better feeling with the car.
Amazing, thank you.
So Taylor Marlene here, part of our coverage again this weekend, and of course gippslandrallye.com.au for our Rally Radio 2. So Hayden Paddon now about to get underway, but for the Toyotas, the theme is pretty common. They're finding it tricky, aren't they, as opposed to Hayden?
Well, and that was the thing that amazed me at Toyota, really struggling handling it. You think they've got this. Again, Hayden dropped in and gone, best of cars ever felt. And the thing that we've got to remember about Hayden, despite his experience in 12 cars, run on this current control time. He's starting to his car setup, just found the speed on that. Just looking over his shoulder and stuff, it's hard to see the camera. But it does. That was the light. That was the thing. Going back to talking about the road and stuff like that. That was what they were factoring. How much of the dust further back, but Hayden Paddon showing his class realistically. If you know what he's done so far in this bringing it together, Harry cannot make any contenders tonight. And remember, don't mention again, only second line Harry goes through the rest of the Paddon, John Kennard off the line towards us. A little tricky left-hander, right hand pin, gutter on the inside. Let's have a listen and a watch. I don't know if you can see on the camera on the left hand in front of us, he took a whole heap of what you'd call curb in circuit racing, had the thing tipped up. These cars are impressive like that, like full commitment on the left. You just sort of even see from that great shot there of now the lights starting to make their way through, and they'll become a big factor as it gets darker and darker, but he is in full flight, and that's awesome to see a Rally 2 car being driven that hard, to be fair.
Looking super impressive. He is our championship leader. He has a margin at the moment of 35 points over Lewis. Let's hear from Hayden Paddon.
Hayden Paddon, you're coming in the lead at the moment. How is it going out there? What are the conditions?
Yeah, so far so good. Obviously pretty tricky conditions with that little bit of rain that come through, and it was slippery, but it was, the biggest factor was how much the grip was changing, so really hard to read the grip, but it's going good. The car feels really, really good. It's working, and we're just keeping to our own pace at the moment.
And this is the endurance part of the rally, so how are you going leading into the rest of the stages? Do you have a plan?
Look, it doesn't change the mentality at all compared to a sprint or endurance. You're here to drive as fast as you can on each and every stage, so no different. Obviously, the night time tonight's a new challenge, especially with that grip changing a lot. There's still going to be a lot of damp patches, and trying to read that grip at night time is going to be even harder.
There'll certainly be lots of challenges heading into the night session. Do the headlights come into effect with how they're positioned on the road? And
Yeah, but in saying that, I'd say in all night rallying you've ever seen, you'll never ever have the perfectly positioned light. So I'm sure everyone will complain it'll not set right, but at the end of the day, it's a matter of compromise, and you just drive with what you got.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you.
Pretty cool customer at the best of times. I like the fact that he's confidently sporting the Hyundai beanie too. He's doing a bit of a Bodie Reid who made the beanie his signature. Of course, he's leading our Wolf Production Cup. But like I said, Hayden, class act, and like you can just see that he's comfortable and it's all on.
As soon as he got out, the beanie went straight on. He is the ultimate professional. Wasn't that cold, but he had to get the sponsors out there. So Alex Rillo is about to get underway. The car's driver. He had a little bit of bodywork damage to the front right of his car after today's earlier stages, but just a bit of cosmetic damage.
No, it didn't look like it. And he's sort of no man's land. He's sort of Lewis is a little too far ahead of him. He's got a bit of a gap on. Yeah, he's getting a bit of pressure from Hoy, who's had an issue. We won't actually, unfortunately, see Clayton Hoy come through. Was leading production, doing a great job outright. He's clipped a stump, I think potentially the same stump that Molly Spalding's tipped, so we won't see those two back out there. Hopefully tomorrow they'll be able to rejoin, but of course it's going to really impact their results overall. Alex I'm going to be interested to see how Alex goes. The West Australian Championship, which is a champion of from last year, has a few night stages. So compared to someone like Harry and Lewis, who haven't done a lot of night rallying, they tell me, literally a couple of rallies, Alex has cut a little bit of his teeth doing some night stages, so maybe can he make a bit of an impact as he comes through here now? Don't know if you can pick that up, Stubbs. The underbroken is locked up. There's so much sort of sweeping going on there. It's so hard packed, that crate, so it locked up. I could hear a little tyre squeal. Turn it in again, big commitment on the left-hander, and as they go out of our shot and past the spectator area here, which, great to see some spectators coming out here and seeing some of the Australian Championship rounds, and fantastic. 7,000 spectators here last year. It's always super popular and so well supported in these parts of the world, and we're expecting even more this time around, given we have the night stages to get to. So at this point, we might take another interview because Troy Dow is coming up.
You're back at service station and ready to head out soon. I hear you had some tyre issues and a starter motor issue. How was it going?
Yeah, we had a little starter motor issue in refuel, so we managed to get that back started up, so it wasn't too late. But yeah, we hit the same rock I think Clayton Hoy hit, and it was a big rock, so absolutely destroyed the tyre. So yeah, we had to crawl through that fourth stage with the puncture.
I hope the rock took some damage as well here, not just your tyre.
Yeah, I think we came off second best. That's for sure.
Yeah. Is it going to change the way you approach the next few stages?
No. Hopefully we'll just go out, reset. No more punctures, hopefully. I don't want to do any more of that, but hopefully a clean run.
Yeah. No more damage, clean run. Let's do it. Thank you, Troy.
Thank you.
Just such a great news story, having him in the championship and stuff like that.
He's had some battles health-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bernie Webb joining him back,
yeah.
so I think that's a little good combination. Mitch Garrard was doing a great job, but he's sort of joined back in to be part of that fold. I think there's a comfort level there. As he builds his confidence, they had a big nosedive and sort of set out most of Queensland. So, he's had some issues, though, starter motor issues and dramas with that car. He may not even be the car on the start line.
There'll be penalties we expect for those late check-ins, so they hadn't been applied when we arrived here a few moments ago. So we'll keep you up to date with that one. A few penalties throughout the day from earlier today, but of course a late check-in you do get slapped with a bit of time.
You've got to run on time in the rally. That's sort of part of what the go-drives look after as well. Those check-in and check-outs of stages of controls, that all counts up. So like I said, we probably won't see Troy just yet. Hopefully he's out of the service park shortly and maybe part of this battle, but Bodie Reading on the start line by the sound. I can hear that sort of the lumpy engine of a Subaru Boxer behind us.
Yeah, we actually we caught up with Bodie a little bit earlier on, so before he gets underway, let's hear from him.
Bodie Reading, you're leading the production cup, so the conditions out there must be in your favour. How does it feel?
Not in our favour, actually. It's quite tricky. It's probably one of the trickiest rallies we've done for a couple of years, and unfortunately our car's not as sophisticated as some of the newer cars, so we're actually really, really struggling. I'm surprised we're even leading at all, to be honest. I know that Clayton had a fairly good lead until he had his issues, unfortunately, but even against some of the other local guys, like they're super quick, and I'm surprised that we even can be leading at this.
just shot past us. Very mechanical car. So it's the first, production cup car. We've seen these Rally 2 cars go through there, and I was impressed with the handbrake and stuff. What you have to do with a car like this, which is very mechanical, is you have to muscle it. So what he did, he was a little more specific on his turning. He flicked it himself and used that and tried to use the diffs that he doesn't have the tech that you have on the current model rally car, and doing it a sterling job. And once again, very impressive speed from Bodie Reading this weekend.
So we can see from our pictures that it is starting to get dark quite quickly. Talk to us about nighttime rallying and how hard it is to get that visibility right, and what the main challenges are in terms of setting up the car with the lighting.
Well, and that's the tricky part. You'll see some cars as we go through the field will have a couple of lights like you would do on your four-wheel drive, big spotlights and fantastic, but at the speed and the faster you go, one, you've got to have depth down the road. Two, look how sideways these cars are getting. So when it's sideways, pointing straight with the lights is not where you want it. You want it to be going to the the left-hand side, or be able to blanket some road, so you need a spread, a spot, etc. Some of the current model cars are also using corner lights to try and make sure they're throwing some light out as well. So it comes down to budget, the car you've got, the technology. I mean, I've seen it change over time. I've said to you before, we've had halogen globes, and then we had sort of HID, and now LEDs are the way to go. The other part of that, one, they're so efficient and they're getting worked on so much. Literally, engineers are making these lights brilliant for motorsport use, and particularly rallying, but also from that point of view, they don't draw as much power out of the car. There's not as much effort required by by alternators and things like that from the power source from the car. So
I will get that mosquito. That's
is it right there? I can
just
sort of feel
inside
it,
the glasses there. That's one of the parts of rallying at night time as well, isn't it? It brings out some of the...
I can feel it. Can you tell?
I can see you try to swipe it, but you missed it.
Thank you, mate.
I thought I'd help you out there.
You have a big red mark there tomorrow now.
Yes.
So.
And our latest edition of Petter Suspension Tech Talk will be coming up, where we talk a little bit more about lighting and the technology that goes on behind the scenes. But you can really see now it is lighting up the surface in front. The visibility, how far do you get in front of you at night? And in terms of trying to pick the damp spots, because there's been some really changing conditions.
Well, and that's the thing. It does actually impact quite a bit, because you've now got this sort of, even as good as the light is, it's sort of an artificial light. It's like going and seeing your house in the daytime versus when the lights are on. I can see, but everything looks slightly different. And the bit that they were talking about that was really tricky for them was picking the road surface change. I think particularly the two Toyotas were talking about, it's not comfortable with the car, and trying to pick that stage surface change is really tricky, etc. As we'll see who lights up behind us and ready to see. We literally got the start line over our shoulder, spectator point, left hand into a right hand hairpin, the little siren in the background as well. It's possibly going to be someone like a Stewie Reid or someone similar. Let's have a look if we can pick it early. And it is Troy Dow. Pretty good job through there. It looked good. We'll watch some of the drone stuff as he goes past as well. Like I said, so he's obviously jumped back, being that late penalty. He's one car behind. He'll probably get 30-second penalty from that sort of stuff, and that will be shown on his overall scorecard. But in a rally like this, he can definitely make that up. So.
And he has the Easy Up on the car, the sponsorship. Easy Up are sponsoring our power stage here this weekend, and that's going to be a great way to wrap up this rally as well, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, you can, the bonus point thing does put a bit of an extra chance to be able to sort of top up your weekend if you're Hayden Paddon. How hard does he push if you've got the, the rally almost wrapped up? If someone like Harry, if he can't penetrate or getting further on, I need to try and really win that power stage. So from that point of view, the power stage points have become a real, deep part of our championship now, particularly in the last 2 or 3 years.
Also across this weekend, we've got Deep Creek. Now, that was voted as the number one stage for the entire calendar last year by the drivers. What is it that's so special about this region, but in particular Deep Creek, that put it in the number one position?
Well, yeah, it does. I'd love to drive it myself. We should go and get a car to do it ourselves. But generally, what you're looking for is, and you tell us that it's got everything. You want a road that's not too hard on the car, gives you a bit of a challenge. So it's got high speed sections, a hard packed road, but also is challenging, a little bit hard to read though. But a challenge for the driver. We sort of internally used to call some of those stages the Big Mac stage. Why would you do that? Because it's got everything.
Burger with the lot.
It's got the lot and stuff like. Rallying when you're trying to showcase someone. Let's say we could put someone in a rally car and really show them the full experience. Stages like that have all of that. High speed, but twisty, hairpins, even some dips, water splashes, crest jumps, whatever you can throw at it. And I believe that stage is sort of one of the ones that they voted the top of the pops last year.
Talking to Lewis about it earlier today, and he said exactly that. It's the technical nature of it that you wear a bit of a badge. If you come out of that one at the top of the timesheets, you've ticked all the boxes as a rally driver.
And a complete driver. And that's exactly right, it's a challenge. We've actually got some stage times through here for Thompson. So it's a bit closer than it was during the day. So Hayden Paddon, 8:08.0, only 2.1 seconds back is Harry, and then half a second back to Lewis. So over 14 Ks, that is now tight. Is that impacted by the dust? Is there a bit of dusting? I don't think so, what we're seeing, but even over our shoulder, just have a look at that glow around that shot you can see there. I mean, normally that light would be penetrating without that sort of exterior part. That's sort of the dust still hanging around. So there will be pockets potentially, but that's quite close between those top three.
Well, Hayden earlier today was 5 seconds quicker across this stage, as we mentioned, so that gap has come down by 3 seconds or so.
And on a 14-kilometre stage, that is tight. That's a really tight little battle. Also, Hayden potentially going, well, I don't need to risk anything at night. I've got a really nice, comfortable buffer. In an overall sense of things after 7, he now has a 41.6 second lead as we got the crackle and pop of our next car on the stage. We think it's going to be him coming through. I wanted just to let him run through. I wanted to commentate over the top of that. That is typical Stewie. He has come in full sideways, nearly looped it, has grabbed the handbrake just at the right time, pinned it around, not to overshoot. He would have had a moment where he's going, I'm going to have to bail out of this, and he didn't. He spun it around.
I think I had a moment and almost bailed out of it as the rocks went flying past.
He's done it to Rusty and I before. I think he must be aiming for us, Stewie. That's from bloody previous times he and I were doing production cup together.
So. Let's hear from him.
Stuart Reid, this is the endurance rally for a reason. How are you pacing yourself throughout this, and how's it feeling out there?
The conditions are tricky, especially the 2 longer stages where we had some rain. Some of the corners were dry and some of them were like, oops. But it's the same for everyone. So, no, we're just doing what we do every event, and just hopefully we'll have no little gremlins. But the boys have been working really hard on the car, and every time we come and do an event, PGR do a great job.
Yeah, it's a grueling track out there. Are you making many changes to the car as well?
We maybe soften it a little bit, but probably the biggest change we'll do today is put the lights on for tonight.
Exciting nighttime session ahead.
It's been a while. Quite lucky we did an earlier start rally a couple of years ago in New Zealand, so looking forward to the dark. Again, it'll be tricky, especially picking the wet spots, but it's the same for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Stewie's still smiling after all these years. Great value, isn't he?
Oh, and it's awesome to have him back in the Australian Championship. I mean, he's been and done it before many, many years ago, but we found him over in New Zealand. He joined the New Zealand Roads and the New Zealand Championship and joining up with the Paddon Rally Group. So the fact that I think, Hayden's come across, he sort of joined across, which I think is, fantastic that he chooses to come across and do the Australian Championship. And he's a great character, and he's a pretty flamboyant driver, and not just from what we're watching behind us, but just in general. So.
Fantastic stuff. Look how dark it is getting now, and cold as well. We're expecting minimums of around 4 degrees overnight. How does that impact the performance of these cars?
The cars love it.
Yeah.
Because it's
nice
like this.
Cool
it's cool down there, particularly a turbocharged, intercooled car for sure. They love it. And you know what? The best spot to be is in a rally car right now because it's nice and warm and toasty. So, we're getting a bit chilly, and the spectators, we've got them all rugged up. Rally car in these conditions is beautiful to be in because, you cop it when you got the race suit on and it's 30 degrees ambient. It's generally something like 30 degrees hotter inside the cab as it is outside. So if it's 30 degrees outside, it's going to be 60 inside. It's a nice, comfortable sort of 30, like a nice, warm hotel room, etc. Some more times coming through. So we've also had Alex Rouleau come through. He was 18.9 seconds behind Hayden through there in the other Hyundai, meaning that he's roughly a second a kilometre off the pace of Hayden through there as the next car approaches towards us. So let's see who is coming through. Got a bit of a cheer from the crowd. It's the Evo Millard coming through with Hughes co-driving. The production car bogging down a little bit there as he makes the hairpin, but now attacking up the hill.
And interesting to see the way that the cars were the lights were mounted on the car. There's very different ways, but his was quite substantial on the bonnet. Might be hard to pick up in some of the shots there, but
I missed it.
You can have some simple little mounts, but his were more encased in some bodywork almost.
Yeah,
onto the front,
so sometimes,
in a pod,
probably some of the traditional production cars would run a pod light set up on them, so a whole pod of lights are combined together and held on the front bonnet.
Yeah. So let's hear from a man who you just updated us with how he's progressed through the stage here at Thompson, Alex Rouleau.
We're back at the service station. I hear you had a few challenges out there. How did it go?
Yeah, it was. The road was probably a little bit more slippery than I anticipated. And then, the car just had a little bit understeer, and the slippery patches probably just exaggerated that a little bit. Just struggled with the car a little bit. The like sort of entries of each corner feels good. But yeah, just killing our exit speed and yeah, just feels like it's leading time down the straight. So a bit tricky. Some sections feel really good, and then others it's just there wasn't too much I could do there.
I think Hayden also mentioned just the difficulty of the conditions and the track and then prepping the car as well. Have you made any adjustments for the next stages?
Yeah, making some adjustments now. So yeah, hopefully it's better, but yeah, it's going to get dark as well. We'll get the lights on, so that'll be another challenge, but looking forward to it.
All the excitement. Thank you.
In great form too, isn't he? Alex Rillo, second at Queensland, having the time of his life and just gets better and better, and a really impressive young man.
Yeah, that's why I thought he might be a little bit quicker, to be honest, through there. You know, he's a second to K back, which is still very commendable with the with what's going on. But I thought his nighttime experience from doing what we do in the West Australian Championship will hold him well. So he'll be well served for the rest of the night. There's still plenty of kilometres to do tonight in regards to trying to make it through and make sure you don't make a mistake and drop too much time.
We saw his dad out and about today. Peter was watching on.
I think he's actually he's probably an arm length here. I mean, we love having Peter part of the championship. That big crash in Queensland put him out. He's using the Skoda to good effect in state championships. So back out there doing some driving in the West Australian Championship. Has actually done nearly 2 rounds since Queensland. But obviously we need to get another Hyundai repair to get him back in the ARC.
We've mentioned Petters in terms of our tech talk. We haven't talked about Scott Petter because he's not here after his issues in Queensland. Just quickly, you're involved in the team there. What's the update?
Repairing. Still repairing. Big repair, particularly around roll cage area, which we've got to get right, part of the homologation. So from that point of view, there's a bit of a time delay on that. Choosing to sit this one out, sit SA out, do a little bit of practice and testing amongst some state rounds come out before he finishes off the season in Tassie. Great to have him back in that round.
That's it. Always great value. Danny Traverso likewise. He's underway.
Fantastic. I love the fact that Danny joins and does the ARC round of the Vic area. Let's have a look at him. And they've tricked us. It's not Danny Traverso. It's the front-wheel drive car of Tony Sullins. Good on the handbrake. This will struggle for traction up the hill. Sequential gearbox, short shifting up the hill. Sullins doing a great job on that little car. It's a little pocket rocket, and he knows how to drive it. And does a good job through there, actually, with limited front-wheel drive traction.
And with limited vision. Talking to him earlier today, because he does lead our two-wheel drive cup. He's had laser eye surgery in the recent days, less than 2 weeks ago. And he was seriously worried about what his vision would be like tonight. He was still struggling with it somewhat.
Well, this is early on in the stage, so he's still got plenty of nighttime stuff. We'll be interested to see what he's got to say at the service park tonight. They might be like dinner plates by the end of it.
That's it. Jackson Long is not too far away from getting underway. Let's catch up with him.
Jackson Long, you're leading Junior Cup at the moment, which is terrific. How does it feel out there? What are the conditions like?
Yeah, it's certainly very slippery and tricky. And then we had a bit of a moment where we hit a stump on the inside of a corner, which I think a few other people hit, so it was obviously common. And so we just got to nurse the car for the rest of the night and just deal with the steering being a bit off centre. The boys will try and fix it now, but yeah, we'll just get back out there.
Well, at least you're not left out and hitting the stump then. It's a mutual thing.
Yeah, I guess it was a mistake on my part. We had a don't cut, but I may have still gone for a cut. But anyway.
And what about changes heading into the night time now? Are you making any car changes or preparation for that?
Just putting the lights on, and I think we'll run some slightly lower pressures with the lower temperatures and the slipperiness, so yeah.
I understand your relationship with your co-pilot as well would have to be really strong and trusting coming into the night session and pretty much being blinded for most of the race apart from the headlights. How does that feel?
Yeah, we made some big changes to the pace notes in the first runs, basically used it as a fast recce, and so made some changes, and yeah, we're going to very much trust the pace notes tonight, hopefully.
Looking forward to seeing it. Thanks, Jackson.
So Jackson is leading his class in terms of our juniors for this year, but also second in the Wolf Production Cup. 18 years of age. He has been, we talk about Alex Rillo, we're in good hands because the youth coming through, guys like him, so impressive.
Yeah, and third generation, how good is it to have his dad who's, been a works co-driver. I mean, that's the perfect guy to have next year to be guiding you through. I think it helps mum feel a little bit better that dad's on board under strict instruction to get them back. And what'll be interesting to see, he's, obviously class act. He's been having a great battle with Glusky in the juniors. outright terms, he's in a production car technically, no turbo, but because he's done all the rounds and been uber consistent, he's right up there in points. And at the next round in South Australia, he's actually going in Glenn Brickman's WX Challenge car. Yep. So another way to test him to see how he goes, as he's, you know, really a young guy, loves sport. He's wanted to do it since he was literally tiny. Like I said, with his granddad racing back in the day, they still own, would you believe, Granddad's Evo. Granddad still got it, etc. And Jackson loves it, but he's out here in the Subaru today. Let's have a look at the car coming towards us. It doesn't sound like our production. That's Traverso now, so we're getting stumped on all the cars. I thought it sounded a bit too aggressive for Jackson. That's Danny Traverso. Big anti-lag backfires as it comes up through the front there, so a bit of out of order from what we've been told at the start line. So Danny Traverso there, Victorian going through, currently sitting in second overall in the Production Cup, so doing a good job. Now that Toy's out of action, it's reading from Traverso to Sullins in what we've been told as Production Cup from that point of view after the at the service, so coming into stage 7 now, of course.
How good are the backfires? Especially if they're even better at night.
Yeah, well, that's true. I said we won't get the glowing brakes, but you'll definitely get some of that. Yeah. I'm sort of focused on the lines of where the steering wheel might go, and you're looking at the exhaust popping and banging. But it's a cool feature of it. And sometimes they can be quite aggressive. You know, that sounded quite aggressive. What it's basically trying to do, it's called anti-lag for the fact that when you're off throttle, you're trying to make sure that the turbo is right there, spooled up, ready to give you the boost that the turbo can produce that you would normally get some lag in a road car. So it's called anti-lag, and it's the excess fuel being dumped out the back, and you can run it quite aggressive, which it sounds like Danny does, and sometimes you can run it, you can sort of change it depending on driving style as well, which is pretty cool.
Stage 1 today, when we were out and about, keeping our eyes on things that it was progressing, there was one of the biggest backfires I've heard in my life, and everyone jumped. It was like a shotgun ringing through these forests, and that's the best part about getting up so close to these cars at any rally that you're at throughout the year, be it Australian Rally Championship or at state levels, is how close you can get to these cars.
And yeah, that is the beauty. I mean, who's been close or been able to touch or sit in a Formula One car? You know, as you struggle to do that with a supercar unless you've got a VIP ticket. You know, literally at the start or some of these, you can get along. You know, someone like Luke Kinnear was famous for it, just putting young kids into the car and letting them have a look around. I mean, these are Rally 2 World Championship sort of class machines, and to be able to sit in and understand them is pretty cool. So.
And last night we had our BSR Automotive rally show in Sale, and we saw exactly that. We saw all these kids getting autographs. Hayden Paddon in particular has got an enormous following here in Australia, and it was just so good to see still the passion and kids touching rally cars. It doesn't get any better.
Well, and you actually get to see the drivers a bit more relaxed too. Normally if there's a super stage that night or you see them at the service park, they're nice and they're friendly, but they're thinking about the stage, they're thinking about their rally. You know, you could see in service park, the Toyota team definitely, how do we make these things a little fast, how we tune them up. When you got them relaxed, you know, cars look brilliant, they're on display, you get nice chat in a more relaxed atmosphere, which is pretty cool.
So. That's it. In terms of the championship, we touched on it off the top, but the cars are underway pretty quickly. It is crunch time, isn't it? Hayden, for Lewis, the defending champion. I mean, it's really now or never.
And I think it's a long way to go still. You know, it's an endurance rounds, but this was a really important round for Harry in my mind to try and get some time on Hayden to make an impact on that. Tonight's his time to do it, but he's coming from a long way back. Little lock up as we turn in. This is the young guy, Jackson Long, up on the curb. You heard him lock up on the brakes, hairpin through, not just nailed it. Don't worry about the handbrake, just turn it in, get it in the right gear, and away you go. And that's probably showing his style. Like 18 years of age, he has this aggressive style, but touch wood, doesn't knock it around too much, to be fair, which is part of the art of being fast, but, you know, not knocking around and making sure you can finish rallies.
And he had plenty of support as well. You could hear over our shoulder there was a bit of a roar for him as he went past. And yes, aggressive in the car, but so well spoken out of it. He does work a lot with his public speaking. He's in cadets as well, so he gets a good opportunity to present himself, and he does it so well.
Ticks all the boxes, doesn't he? Jeez, these guys make you sick, these young guys who can do everything and talk
get
really well.
Around Jackson Long. Get on board around all our competitors, but in terms of one of the youngsters, he's one to watch.
Oh, and you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of a Taylor Gill who's doing, you know, famously well in the Junior World Championship and getting some support and getting an opportunity through that, you know, Rally Star program in the World Championship. You know, same thing. You know, Taylor showed that he was a good young talker, good with the corporates, been able to do that. And Jackson's showing the same thing. You know, they know what's important about making all that work. So, no, good that he's doing a good job, and good that they're rocking through here.
Yeah.
He's had some great battles with Gluskies. Unfortunately, Jaden and Lucy aren't here. They had a big accident. Unfortunately, they're both okay. People who have been around the sport for a while have seen those photos showing how lucky they are and how safe our cars are ultimately. But he was here. I spoke to Jaden, and he wants to get back in a car as soon as he can. And I love the fact that those two young guys are battling really hard in very similar cars, and both showcasing their talents, which is cool. So, like you said, to your point, you look at the Bates that's coming through, are still young guys.
Yeah.
Hayden to come across, who's probably the more senior in experience, being a world championship works driver. We learn so much from that, and chasing someone like that. And then, the rulers with their outfit, Scotty Petter and stuff. So we're in a healthy state at the moment. And it shows, I think, by just the amount of spectators we have out there. Can't quite see them out there now, but this would be as good a spectators point as I've seen here in particularly Victoria. We've had record crowds in Queensland, and we're having car parking issues getting to stadium, which is reminiscent of sort of European rounds and stuff. And the spectating's awesome as well, because when you've got someone like Hayden Paddon here, and you can tell now, direct comparison, guess what? We knew the Bateses were fast and Scott Petter was fast, but they're world level fast in these cars, because Hayden shows that. He's last two-time European champion, one world championship. So if our guys are going close and being 2 seconds, 2.1 seconds off in 14 Ks in a guy with that calibre, we have a great championship. And so we can't be too harsh as we roll through these stage results, where Alex is 18.9 off, then a bit of a gap as you'd expect to production. Bodie Reading, 49.1 seconds, Troy Dow, then Stewie Reid, and then, of course, Millard in the Evo are at 8 who have completed this stage. So you look at that and you go, okay, probably 3 seconds, 4 seconds a K to some of the production cars off a Hayden Paddon in night here in the Forest of Victoria. So
they are putting on a show, no doubt about that. And, of course, we've still got Adelaide and then Tasmania to come to round out our season.
So Tony Stokes in the Subaru being a little more ginger. That anti-lag was running through, not as confident under brakes as some of the others in the sedan version of the GVB, they call it, as a Subaru STI. Looked after by the Les Walkden outfit. He's had a few interrupted runs, been a few repairs. Have a bit of a look through there on the vision there, the lights that showcase what we're talking about with the vision on that. Some of that little bit of ripple could be the screen, but also the road surface. You actually now start to see if there's little bumps and corrugations in the road. You actually get the little dark spots actually coming through. So, going back to when you asked me about the lights and what you want set up, the bit apart from the left and right, the obvious slide, the undulations as you start to go downhill or through a dip, the lights are reacting to that. They flick up or down and stuff. So there are spots where you just are unsighted or you just can't see as much. And as a general term, we'll have a quick look actually at what they did here through stage one and see what the seconds per K difference from like a Hayden Paddon and a Harry, night versus day. So
makes a massive difference, doesn't it? And in terms of, you talk about average speeds, our power stage coming up tomorrow, they'll be going more than 120 kilometres an hour average through these forests, which is so quick and just off the charts. That's around 20 kilometres an hour average improvement in the last 20 years from the last time they did these similar roads.
It's crazy, isn't it? And that's just the efficiency of the cars and the how good they are in regards to the torque, and they're not overall powerful. Like, these things are capped at like 180, and yeah, sure, some cars with the right gearing could probably even do 200, but they're so efficient. That's the four-wheel drive technology, the diff technology, the sequential gearboxes that we didn't have back in the day. We had sort of H patterns and bits and pieces, or dog boxes and things like that. So that's where some of it comes through, and the commitment level from them is so great. You and I were talking about the lights and a stat, and looking it up, these cars tap out at 180 k's an hour. That's 50 metres every second. So when we're talking about how far you want to see down the road at night, you want to see a fair way, because if you in 1 second, I'm covering a fair bit. So and that's the fact of it. There's a lot going on. That co-driver relationship becomes so much more important, because you have to have 100% confidence that what they're saying is coming out right, because you live and breathe off the side of that in regards to the commitment. And that's what I think you also see with some of the gaps in here, is the guys with less experience just are literally going to have to lift on some of the things where you'll see the front-running guys, they hit some of those crests and those calls flat out when they can.
Gee, it's trust, isn't it? It's a lot of trusting not only your co-driver, your notes, but just yourself, and going when sometimes your mind might even tell you not to.
And the car. The car. But and the thing, like you said, it doesn't feel quite right, so how do you reckon try and combat that? And we sort of saw that 30-second gap is all about confidence, realistically. So big bangs on the shifts here. Looks like a GC8 coming through there. forest. I'm bloody blinded by the lights now. I can't read any of my notes even, so...
I think it was Nichols. I think I saw... Was it number 11?
I didn't see who it was. It's getting too dark and we need a torch about the front on the lights there.
That's the thing. We look across into the forest, it's dark, and then you look back to the lights and it's very hard to see exactly what's going on. But I think I saw an 11 there. That was Michael Nichols and Callan Randall, I believe.
Yeah, you're on the money. Yes, well done, mate. Yes, good job.
Yeah.
Yep. And they were. It was a GC8. So, but you see on the shifts, that one was backfiring on the shift. So either that's not set up with some of the cars will have a flat shift, meaning the driver holds their foot flat. There's a little detent or little sensor that allows a small cut in the engine. They change gear and then it automatically happens. Then if you're lifting, you might get that little bit of a backfire. So I'm wondering, depending on his gearbox or what he's got in there, you're getting that sort of change at the front. Some of the front-running cars with flat shift won't have. So you sort of every gear change there was a bang going on every single time. So
and there's quite a bit more dust coming through now. So I guess the road it's getting stirred up somewhat. Through this section.
It was very hard base. Can you actually hear? I had a quick look, and so it's all unofficial, but it seems like they are going faster tonight than they did during the day, which is impressive because normally you would not actually expect that. Yeah, I would expect like a second a k slower. So that's probably in the road more so than the drivers and the nighttime stuff. But I can hear here. Because it is hard packed and it would be almost a clay-based surface, but it's dry, they're locking up. You can actually hear if they get real aggressive on the brakes just in front of us. And you've got this rally tyre, which is, trying to go on a hard surface. Those treads don't make as much difference, those block treads, and it actually locks up. So you have to, as a driver, they will detect that and go, oh, shivers, I have to be careful about locking up. Sometimes that really hard-packed road is actually just as hard as a sandy or an undulating road as well to sort of combat.
Don't think rally drivers say, oh, shivers. I think it's very close to that, but maybe not all shivers.
A polite one, right?
Yeah. There was a little bit of rain earlier today, not much, but enough that we all had to grab umbrellas. That was around midday today, so that's played a bit of a role, hasn't it?
It has a little bit, but probably I think in the inconsistency of the road, and not so much what we're seeing here. That I think what we're seeing here, with it being a bit dry and almost like you said, powdering on the outer edges, hard packed in the middle, out in some other areas under the trees, I think that's where the surface change is happening and stuff, and that's why it was inconsistent. I think the word that keeps coming through, inconsistent road, and therefore lack of confidence, so to speak. So I'm getting told officially by some people who are tuning in, ignition cut on the flat shift. So if I've got that technically wrong, there we go. Thanks to Daniel for correcting me on that.
That's why we're driving.
The fuel and the hot exhaust, exactly. I just pluck the gears and stuff. So an ignition cut that happens. There we go.
Let's see what our eyes can pick up here. It's the number 12.
Lancini,
yep.
In the Group NP cut. Oh, no. Well, we didn't have to say anything because everyone said it for us, basically.
Get it going. I don't know if the microphones could pick it up.
Yeah,
The
Jimmy
one
and
lap
Mark there.
was very quick into
First
that one.
time in this car. Great pedigree. That's a Neil-based motorsport car. Back when we were doing production cars, this is what they called an NP car prototype or Group N production prototype car. Great to see something like that back out there. But those guys are uber fast in a classic car. Once they get their head around this car, mate, they'll be fast in that as well. But I heard you were at a spectator. They even clipped the tree early on today as well.
Today, so that was in the first stage of the day and just got a little on the exit. It was almost a 90-degree turn, and just on exit, this was one of the areas in around the trees, so it was mixed conditions, a little bit damp, and we did see a lot of the drivers actually locking up on entry into that particular corner. But on exit, just got it all crossed up and just glanced a tree, and a little bit of fiberglass was left behind and a little bit of bark was shaved off the tree, but he survived and lived to tell the tale.
Not doing too good in front of the spectator points at the moment, then, is he? He comes into that one.
No,
it looks like he rolled in okay, and then it just, obviously wrong gear or stalled it on the exit, which he won't be happy about. Righto, we'll cover off a few. It's a tight battle pack, sort of 5th through to 9th. So if we have a look, we know who those top 5 are, right the way to Bodie being 5th, Troy Dow 6th. Then only about 6 seconds back to Stewie Reid. Then only 0.8 of a second to Danny Traverso. Millard only a second back from there, so there's only 2 seconds between them. Another second back to Sullins, and Jackson Long about 10 seconds back in the non-turbo Subaru. So that little battle pack, 7 through to 8, there's only like 4 seconds between 4 of them over 14 Ks. That's awesome. That's fantastic.
So how do you structure your weekend? Because this is so different, and it was one of the things this morning talking to Coral Taylor straight away. She's like, it's just so weird to be standing around of a morning and not out in the car. We're all just waiting for the rally to get underway this weekend. But conversely now, it's pretty compact in terms of tonight, servicing cars, and then turning around earlier tomorrow, that's a tight ask, isn't it, for some of these teams, especially if you're not happy with the performance of the car?
Well, the thing is, normally in a sprint rounds, when we got the heats, you normally get up to 2 hours for your service. Tonight, I'm pretty sure it's only 45-minute service, so it's a tight turnaround from that point of view, so you don't get a lot of time. That's full, in my mind, APRC World Championship spec, where you only get that amount of time. So it's not unusual, but like you said, big, long lay-in to make sure we have the nighttime stages tonight. The crews will work through, lock them into Parc Fermé, back out tomorrow, and whatever the gaps are, we're starting with them tomorrow. Road order also is changed tomorrow based on results. So we've seen Harry and Lewis at the front of the field. If Hayden continues on to be the first car, he will be the first car out there tomorrow and pioneering on the stages tomorrow.
All right, so we've got another runner underway here. We'll turn around and take in the sound and see if the crowd gets involved.
Subaru. It's the Garners coming through now. The green machine. Oh, same thing, mechanical. Sort of locked it up at the back, trying to do a little handbrake turn. Then powering on. Some people saying it's one of the really showcases the sound of a Subaru, etc. So. No, and they've been doing a great job in doing the championship, which I think is fantastic. Crisscrossing around the place and doing a great job enjoying all the challenges that come with doing different rounds of the ARC.
That's it, leading the four-wheel drive Classic Cup. Let's hear from Shane and Sylvia Garner.
Shane Garner, it's your first time doing an endurance rally, and you've travelled all this way from Queensland. How is it feeling?
Oh, feels really good. We did have a problem today. We dropped a spark plug lead and we were missing one of our cylinders, and it was really down on power for the whole of McAllister pretty much. We recovered it in between stages, chucked it back together. It's been endurance just to get here in the first place, so it's been great.
I guess that's forced pacing, isn't it, with the cylinder? Oh, that's good. Are you making any changes to the car heading into the night rallies?
Absolutely not. We're going to leave it as it is. Just check the spark plug leads are still on, clean the mud out and get back out there and have a big fun.
Maybe add some headlights to that as well?
Yeah, we'll turn them on this time.
Thank you so much, Shane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so a spark plug lead and dropping the cylinder there for them earlier today, but still smiling and enjoying themselves. It's great to have them as part of our series, isn't it?
Absolutely it is. And the thing is, it's about, in these situations, you can sort of see the dramas that Hoy's had, that Molly Spaulding's had, and those people dropping out. They're collecting the points and picking it up, and it's an endurance rally. So, you fight back from those little dramas that you've got. It's not at its best. The car's limping on 3 cylinders and stuff like that. But you don't give up and you keep fighting, get back, fix it up and go again.
Dean, tonight after we finish here, we'll be full of adrenaline. We may have a water or something to cap our day. But in terms of these drivers, we hear footy players that play at night, tennis players, whatever it might be, they struggle to get to sleep overnight. How hard will it be for these guys and girls that have been competing at night in the dark at up to 180 k's an hour to get some sleep and rest and prepare for tomorrow?
It's probably all very personal. I'd reckon Hayden Pan will sleep well. We've got 3 more stages to go. But that does play part of it. We've had a really good, comfortable day. Everything's going well. If you're overthinking it, if they don't quite have those Toyotas where they want and they're still a little bit nervous about it, it's sort of the nervous energy that goes on. But I think rally drivers are quite good at adapting to high levels of adrenaline followed by trying to relax. It's one of the things that people find fascinating about our sport is that from this, generally, traditionally, early morning start to a nighttime finish, you have peaks and troughs. We have to, of course, drive in the traffic to get to stages. Doing that is sort of part of the challenge of what happens. So you've got peaks and troughs of adrenaline and stuff like that. So I think we're pretty well versed, and most of the time, you've done a fair bit of work and been driving for a bit, you do sleep pretty well most of the time.
Let's take a listen.
Out there, they of course had an issue. They've been sidelined in the service park all morning with a fuel pump drama in that hatch. Now heading out there, out in the States. But the thing is, their first run at it. So I feel like they're a little bit more ginger there. They haven't had the 6-stage lead up. They've literally, this is their first stage of the run of the day.
So that's it. Today's schedule had us repeating a number of the stages. So you get a real good read on your progression, don't you? It's pretty black and white in terms of how you're going and if you're making some inroads.
Absolutely, because that becomes settling as well. And literally to that point, the fact that they're running through for the first time, that's the nervous energy. We talked about the night time; they got the lights on.
Yeah.
That's a fairly new to rallying sort of crew, particularly the driving side. So They're really nervous. But for everyone else, it's settled in. You feel a little more comfortable. Yeah, I'll deal with the night time, but I did do this stage during the day. I sort of know where it's at. I know what my notes are like. There are some times when you're learning, particularly, where some stages are quite, the notes are good and you can commit to them, and others are not so good because you're still learning the art of writing your own pace notes and stuff. So there are others where you go, oh, we now know that this was a really good set of notes and we can drive confidently. Others, the flow wasn't quite there, so we just had to be a little bit more careful and take some consideration on that. And we're talking like mid-pack or beginning guys, front running, the Bateses and stuff. They're full commitment, and the experience is there to be able to drive flat out all the time. That's the job.
Fascinated, speaking of the Bateses, to see Lewis make a comment in one of his interviews during the week in the lead up to this rally that after this weekend, come tomorrow night, they may need to focus as a team their attention down to one of their drivers as a title contender. Is that likely? It has happened before, hasn't it? But how do they actually make inroads? You've got to catch Hayden first,
yeah,
right?
And that's probably your point. I can see you sort of, that's what you're getting at. You go, can it happen? For sure it can happen. But at that point, I would think that would happen if now Lewis found himself in front of Harry right now, and he was having a really strong rally, and then all of a sudden you go, well, hang on, our point out, we're backing in Harry, we need you to now step back. But, it's got to play out into, one, we'd love you to run blocker for Hayden if it's possible, take points off him, or, in which case, if Lewis might have been, let's say he ends up at the end of today or close to tomorrow being in front of Harry, you know what, are you our championship decider? And it sounds like they're not decided that yet.
No.
But, and I would look at something like Adelaide. Lewis is really strong in Adelaide, so maybe that's what they're looking at, to go, look, if Harry's our main fighter here, and Lewis, you go like we expect in Adelaide, we may have to call that if we're going to have a championship battle. But you've got to have the pace first and foremost, even attempt to do that in the first instance.
Obviously, Harry's won more stages, but Lewis is second in the championship.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Yep. Dale Lineker and Craig Thomas there, Toys Motorsport.
Looking pretty committed there too. A little bit of support from the crowd as well. So the Victorian team doing a good job through there, looking quite committed. And, it's quite cool to look at that drone shot there. Brakes, under brakes there. Photographers on the outside taking photos. You can sort of see the work that the spotlights are doing. They've probably got some of the steady LEDs on board who support our championship, etc. But that sort of is quite a cool shot of the drone footage coming across there.
The technology that develops in lighting to the point that there's black room, like a wind tunnel. Like, I wasn't aware of that when you told me that earlier this weekend. That's the level that we're getting to on the international stage with rally these days.
Yeah, if you have a look at someone, like Steady, who would sell lights and they talk about hotspots and stuff, they're literally chartering that on programs. Like, they have engineers who are doing that from the point of view of programs to try and cover distance and width. The ideal light would be as long as you can go, as wide as you can go, as high as you can go, which is just not physically possible depending on what you're doing. And, we saw, if you have a look at these cars, some have got, 2-spot and 2-spread and corner lights and stuff like that. So it's evolving like technology. I mean, I'm looking up our phones and go, how's our iPhone, whatever, versus the first one? Well, that happens in light technology as well. And we talked about how quick these cars are and diff technology. Well, if you're doing nighttime stages, that can make a big difference. If you don't have the latest and greatest and someone's got an advantage on you, they'll take it.
Can't you just say, ChatGPT, give me a lighting setup for the Australian Rally Championship?
Yeah, they probably do that. It'll come up with something. It might be fully right. And the real world is that, we want to see as far as you can. I always sort of amaze me that people go, these lights are unbelievable, like daylight. I'm going, I still want more. I still want to see longer down the road. And, that's the balancing act of all that, is trying to get the right combination. And, of course, budget. Like, it's hard enough to come and do Australian Championship rounds and, the expenses of being here and doing that, having a light pod. And some of these teams, if you did ARC, don't really have to have one. State level, sometimes they do, but in the past, some of these have cost, it's come down, but they can cost several thousands of dollars, if not into the $5,000-$10,000 for the really high-class ones. Nowadays, there's some really good value lights, like the Steady lights out there. You're getting great value in what they're producing, but it can still cost potentially a couple of $1,000s to set out your car, depending on how many you go for and what your budget's like.
And at the end of the day, if it gains you a tenth of a second across a stage and it gains you 1 point across the entire year, that can be the difference in a title, so it's money well spent.
Absolutely, and the thing is, we're all happy to spend money on engines and power because we can feel that and it makes a difference, right? But in this case, if you can't see where you're going, it doesn't matter how much power you've got. So that's actually a absolutely valid point. No different to tyres.
Really interesting podcast too from Greg Rust about artificial intelligence in motorsport. So have a listen to Rusty's Garage for that one. So the 21 applies the Storer coming through.
This is the No Here, No Fear rally team. The deaf team in there, and they're doing the notes and driving unbelievably committed. It's a great story. They come up and talk to me. Last night they had a translator. I want to really get in depth, but he speaks really well. I love having a chat to Andrew and Christopher. They love the sport. They're doing rounds in South Australia. They stepped up to ARC. They want to come, Dean, we want to come to Perth and do stuff and learn more about rally. How they coordinate and do stuff, I have no idea. And the pace that they go at is unbelievable. So well done, boys. You're doing a great job.
Super impressive. And I love the name. No Here, No Fear. Just inspirational what they're doing for people that have hearing impairments around Australian sport in general. We're going to wrap it up there, Dino, for this stream for tonight. How good was it to have rallying at night time back, right?
That's cool. No big impacts on that stage, but still a few stages to go tonight, and of course you can catch up with all those results, and you've got Taylor out there doing stuff at the service park to see exactly what's going on as we set up for a big day too.
That's it. Keep across all the socials here for the EROAD Australian Rally Championship. This is the middle of everywhere. Gippsland Rally, we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.